Hey family, how you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love and Love Conversations. I hope you guys are good. Yeah? If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, please do keep that on your side of the street, okay? It won't be acknowledged. So, family, in this video, I'm being guided by Spirit to talk about being reactive, okay? What do you mean, Phie? So, Spirit wants us to delve into ourselves a little bit and investigate, where we don't like to look at and recognize that we're reactive. Okay. Again, it's a multi-layered thing, a multi-dimensional thing. There are many times where we won't even want to admit that we're reactive because it means that we don't get to hold the position of being someone else's victim or the victim in a situation or experience, right? Even if you're not the one who started it, your reaction contributes to a situation being the way it is. Your reaction contributes to a dynamic existing the way it is, right? We're reactive because we've been made soft. We are wounded within ourselves in all sorts of places and areas that everybody is, that we're too afraid to touch, to look at, constantly, constantly and unconsciously structuring our decisions that we make throughout our days and our lives in a way that don't touch those wounds that we haven't bothered looking at or trying to, heal or give some air to breathe or resolve, right? So we walk around in our lives in a constant unconscious state of being that fresh wound, not even realizing that you're just an open fresh wound moving about your days and your life. So where can you look within yourself and take charge and take accountability? And it's also growth. It's also it's you beginning to transform, you beginning to look at the places within yourself, becoming aware of yourself, becoming aware of aspects of yourself, taking accountability in situations, engagements, and arguments you might have, gotten into in the past. Maybe, looking at, let's get go again. Looking at maybe certain situations you find yourself in right now that have you irritated, that have you hurt, certain experiences you participated in with other people, arguments, discussions, whatever it is, conversations that you found you maybe were not completely aware that your participation and engagement in some way, shape, or form was a reaction. Where can you investigate and look at how where are you reactive? Where can you start transforming where you're reactive into responding? What does it look like for you when you're being reactive? What in your, or where in your engagements with other people are you maybe failing to recognize certain things as a reaction? Where are you too rash? Where can you maybe start learning how to respond? Where can you start learning? This is a big one, right? To just let things be. You don't have to engage in an argument. You don't have to be triggered by the words of somebody else and start moving into a space of overexerting your energy. 85%. Don't Google me on the percentage, but I'm just saying, okay. 85% of what comes out of other people's mouths is garbage. In your everyday, if it's something, everybody wants attention, everybody wants energy, everybody wants to feel acknowledged, everybody wants to feel and be seen as important, right? But when you engage with people, are you also, taking accountability for what it is you allow your energy and your attention to be engaged with? Or are you just also frivolous with your energy and your intention and, just allowing it to be used up and unfocused and undirected with soothing other people? Where are you reactive in not even consciously recognizing that your reaction and you being reactive is you responding to others in a way that you believe helps regulate their emotions? Because whenever you engage people are programmed to expect the next person to regulate their emotions. It's not your job or your duty to regulate someone else's emotions. And it's not someone else's job or duty to regulate yours. And the world's been programmed into labeling people who don't do that, or people who have, ascended or evolved out of that way of being and that way of reacting to their, engagements and surroundings and people on the outside who have evolved out of, feeling like they're responsible to regulate the next person's emotions or react in a way that regulates the next person's emotions. That has been programmed and labeled as rude, as inconsiderate. Once again, moving you into a place where you completely neglect and reject yourself. Something so simple as forcing a smile when you don't really feel like you want to laugh or smile to regulate the next person's emotions, so they don't feel like you're being impolite or you're being rude. Why should you not meeting the next person's energy in that way be labeled as impolite or being rude? Maybe I just don't feel like smiling. Maybe I just don't feel like regulating your emotions right now. Maybe I just don't feel like I need to react to your presence and react to your pull and tug and demand on my energy. Maybe I just don't, I don't see the need to do that. And that's okay. And you don't have to feel some kind of way about it. You don't have to feel bad about somebody else feeling bad that you haven't reacted to them by regulating their emotions. When you're engaging in texting and chatting or whatever it is with people, I think also, certain reactive relationships. Why do take accountability for how you engage, how you participate, how you react to certain things that escalate your engagements with your girlfriend or your baby mama or your baby daddy or your boyfriend into these extravagant events and arguments and situations that can really be mitigated by you, man or woman, taking the time to actually digest what am I actually being pulled into? So you respond, or you allow yourself to put yourself into the position of responding or allowing to just let something be. We're not taught, we're not groomed to also just allow somebody else's story, allow somebody else's play out to just be. You don't have to participate in everything. You don't have to react or respond to everything. But social media and all of these things, they've got all of these little things that keep humans and keep people in this constant state of reaction. Reaction videos, react to this, react to that. Comments are also reactions. Constantly responding to emotions. Constantly responding to triggers. Constantly being triggered and reactive to the things that people say, things that people do. When you have the choice not to participate, sorry, my belly's making noise. When you have the choice to not participate, and it's become so sensitive to the point that someone even not ending off the text conversation with okay, letting something be. I mean, if there's nothing more to be said, why do you need such extra acknowledgement from somebody to have to still end off a texting conversation with okay, to satisfy and make someone else feel, oh, I've been acknowledged? Why do you need to be acknowledged? Everything has moved into these extremes. Everybody wants to be seen, wants to be heard, but they don't see themselves and they don't hear themselves. And they don't even recognize that half of the time, like I've said, 85% of what comes out of people's mouths a lot of the time is useless. Learn to just also recognize when you can allow certain things, certain engagements, certain behaviors and actions, and the way certain people come into your life and your space and your experience. Learn to sift through it and decide what can just be a moment that can pass by, and what am I going to allow to become an experience in my life. You're allowed to slow down. You don't have to always be in the fast lane. You don't have to be a part of everything. If you have a reactive relationship with your baby mama, or with your mother, or your father, or your sibling, or whoever, your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, or you're trying to change the dynamic of engagement, trying to take accountability for the narrative of how you engage with somebody, how your life story plays out. Take the time to ask yourself before you respond. Digest a text before it comes through. Ground yourself. Is this something I have to respond to? Is somebody actually asking me anything? Is this a conversation of substance? Am I going to give my energy to this? Is this going to mean anything to me 5 minutes from now? Is me giving you my attention and listening to whatever is coming out of your mouth going to mean anything for me 5 minutes from now? Or can I just allow this encounter, this engagement, this person to just be a moment and not worry about what I choose to do, how I choose to respond, or how I choose not to engage or let it be. Not worry about how it's going to make the next person feel, because regulating the next person's emotions is not my responsibility. People need to be accountable for themselves and their own emotions. Even in relationships, You're not ready to be in a relationship if you're expecting the next person to have to regulate and regulate your emotions, and have to be accountable for your emotions. Once you're able to be emotionally accountable and emotionally responsible with yourself, and you've learned how to do that, you're able to be in a relationship with somebody who you recognize is able to do those things for themselves as well. People in today's time are tethered to and programmed to wanting to be entertained. People can't sit in a silent space with one another, coexist together in silence. No, that silence needs to be filled with noise. That silence needs to be filled with distraction. That silence needs to be filled with entertainment. Relationships are draining sometimes. Why? Because people who haven't learned to be dependent on their own energy, people who are not secure in themselves, people who exist in a constant state of trying to draw on the other energy in their environment, become draining to others on the outside of them. Imagine having to coexist and live with somebody. I'm not even going to say imagine, so many people do it and don't even realize that it's a reason why they're also always so drained around their partners. Because you're living with somebody who lives in a constant state, even unconsciously, of needing to always be entertained. You can't just be around each other. If there's too much time, if there's too much peace, if there's an ability for one person to just exist and be and move about and be, it creates agitation in the one who needs to be entertained all the time. The one who starts getting agitated, thinking that there's always something wrong. Needing to always be distracted. Not able to sit with yourself and your thoughts. Once you evolve, you recognize that you actually appreciate being in a union with friendship or even relationship with somebody who doesn't unconsciously view you as a source of entertainment, as a distraction, right? And now you have to react to someone's constant energetic pull of needing you to entertain them, needing you to be a distraction, needing you to occupy their time, needing you to satisfy where they feel that they are lacking, needing you to be Mr. or Mrs. Romantic all the time so that they can feel loved and satisfied and seen and, but in the same breath, never ever satisfied. And then you move into, again, a low vibrational reactive engagement because you become drained. It becomes too much on your energy. It starts weighing you down. But you only recognize these things and these behaviors and these, these areas of lack and need in other people once you've resolved those things within yourself, once you've recognized them within yourself. And these are the things that if they become too heavy, they also make you reactive. The reaction is generally what manifests on the surface. It's what plays out on the surface. Behind it, there's a whole lot of things. There's habits, there's cycles, there's fears, there's insecurities, there's lack, there's feeling threatened. There's a lot of things that exist behind reactivity. And generally what you're reacting, the reason for reactivity on the surface is never it's never what it really is. Right? So the next time you're feeling reactive, take some time to step back. Don't give in to whatever is trying to trigger you. You're allowed to take the time. You're allowed to question the situation. You're allowed to choose not to engage. You're allowed to choose not to respond. And for some people, what I'm about to say may seem harsh, but if someone is being irate, trying to get you into a place of being reactive, trying to get you into a place of reacting to insults, to negativity, to you going against yourself, or to their demand of you going against yourself, trying to get you to react to them tugging on your energy or your attention, or whatever it might be, demanding for your energy or attention, trying to get you reactive to their expectations. Train yourself into just observing. Okay? Train yourself into just observing. Your silence, your observation, your letting it just be. It will play out. You have to watch it play out and be strong, because that you just letting something be within the next person, how do I explain this? It starts with just an example. It can start with a text. You can actually literally, if you're dealing with a reactive or a triggering person, you can just observe. If you know the cycle, if you know how a conversation goes before the reactivity becomes an argument and a big event, watch it play out with your silence. Observe it and recognize that you get yourself wrapped up into things that mean absolutely nothing, that the next person who's probably who's in a cycle and a habit, because people become addicted also to the energy of conflict, right? Become addicted and they tether themselves to the energy of conflict, that they feel satisfied after being in an argument, after being able to trigger somebody. They feel satisfied after letting off the anger and feeling like they've had the last say. Your disengagement, your non-reaction, let that be your response the next time you feel to react. And let someone's theatrics play out. If someone is unnecessarily demanding on your attention and your time, your energy, let it be. Stop feeling obliged to give in to everything. I don't know why we're talking about it like this today. You'll find your power. It takes time, especially if you're not used to standing your ground, especially if you're not used to just letting things be and watching things play out, because eventually the person will turn themselves into a victim, and again, just watch. Eventually, they're going to resort to manipulation, they're going to negotiate, they're going to all kinds of things to pull you back in. Spirit say, just watch. You're not going to, lose points with the divine or the universe. Generally, they don't want us to engage. We need to learn to do the opposite of everything that we've been trained into doing. Everything you've been guilted, behavior you've been guilted into normalizing. Everything you've normalized yourself into, giving into, relinquishing your power. The divine wants us to start learning how to reel all those things back in and start, taking charge and control of what you respond to. And try and wipe out, it takes time, try and wipe out reaction and start, learning yourself and what it feels like inside when you start moving into a place of reaction. Pay attention to all the emotions and the resistance and the things you go through when you're trying to hold yourself back. Hold yourself back with observation of yourself. Don't hold yourself back as a way to, as a way of participating, as a way of engaging. I hope what I'm saying is making sense, right? So, everything about us, we can build, we can unbuild, we can learn, we can unlearn. We can attach ourselves to, we can release, right? And sorry, my belly is making so much noise today. We can attach ourselves to and we can release. Okay? And don't forget, it is not your job, it is not your duty, it is not your responsibility to have to react to or respond to every single tug, demand, expectation, or whatever it might be on your energy and your attention. If someone's asking you something and it requires a response, that's cool. Respond with what's necessary. Don't, also when you go into new relationships, from the beginning, set the tone for what your communication styles are going to be like. Don't be reactive. Don't start cycles of reaction. I don't know why my tummy is making so much noise today. Right? Be aware from the beginning. Answer what is necessary. Recognize how people respond to you having boundaries. How do people act when you say no? How do people respond when you say not now? How do people handle you when you take an afternoon or a day or two to reply? How do people respond when you're okay to just let a message be what it is? Let a communication be what it is. If there's nothing more to say, there's nothing more to say. What are you giving your energy to? And is what people are pulling you into, does it make sense for you? Is it going to mean anything 5 days from now, 5 minutes from now? Or are people just up in your energy, looking for you to entertain them, looking for you to be a distraction, looking for you to give them your energy? And are you the person who's on the other side of that? Looking for people to entertain you, looking for people to distract you, unable to stand, to stand peace and silence, needing to fill quiet with noise, feeling that there's something wrong between you and somebody if it's too quiet, if it's too peaceful. How is your dynamic of coexisting with somebody? Is your partner somebody who needs to always be entertained, who needs to always be distracted, who can't sit still, who can't focus? Are you that partner who's been brainwashed into thinking a loving relationship and a healthy relationship is one where you're constantly where you're constantly needing to entertain each other, constantly needing to stimulate each other, constantly needing to distract one another, constantly needing the person to be reactive to your demand, or them requiring you to be reactive to their demand and tugs on your attention and your energy. This can apply to friends, can apply to family. Be intentional with the energy you give out. And also, you take accountability in training how the dynamic of communication unfolds within your relationships, and what kind of dynamic of communication and exchange of energy and attention you maintain. You set those tones in the beginning, and it's those lack of boundaries and lack of attention in the beginning of new relationships that, in the end, those, the lack of balance created in the beginning becomes becomes the issue at the end of the relationship. The lack of awareness in the beginning becomes the issue in the relationship. The lack of accountability, the lack of structure in everything, right, becomes the issue at the end, because we're imbalanced and we haven't learned, or some haven't learned yet, to get to that point of being self-aware. It's only responding to the urges, to the emotions, to the first thought, to, whatever it is. Anyway, let me pull a card. I hope I've made sense and haven't rambled for too long, right? I'm feeling drawn today to pull a card from the guidebook, the Trust Your Vibes article. Excuse me. The Trust Your Vibes article by Sonia Chuket. Okay. And let's see what Spirit has to support or guide our conversation. I'll give someone who's watching our video a nudge in a specific direction, okay? What did I say? Take your time. Don't be reactive. Thank you, Spirit. Like, seriously. Don't be reactive. Take your time and learn yourself. What does it look like when you're reacting? Where are you reactive in your life? What do you react to? Who are you reactive with? Who pulls you into spaces of being reactive? What dynamics do you have with people that are reactive? Even your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings, where are you reactive? Take your time so you can choose to either respond or let things be and not be reactive. And most of the time, learn to let things be. If it's important, you will know. If it's something of value, you will know. But value your attention, value your energy, and value your time. And don't just allow yourself to react and be open to anything and everything and anyone's bullshit out there, okay? It's not your responsibility to regulate the next person or to try to satisfy what the next person thinks that they're lacking, or the next person's behavior that is born out of their ideas of lack and need to be satisfied by things on the outside because they don't know how to satisfy themselves, okay? So I'm feeling not to read the book right now, so we'll leave it there, family, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.